You still believe in God. So why are you so tired? Not physically tired. Not, I need a nap tired. I mean the kind of exhaustion that follows you everywhere. The kind that makes prayer feel heavy, makes worship feel distant, makes opening your Bible feel like one more thing on a list you already don't have the energy to finish. You still believe, but you're exhausted. And maybe the most painful part is that you don't feel allowed to admit it. You still believe. That's not the problem. The problem is that somewhere between the prayers and the worship services and the trying again after you failed and the getting up one more time, you ran out of something you can't quite name. It's not doubt. It's not anger. It's not even distance. It's exhaustion. A deep, cellular tiredness that no amount of sleep seems to touch. The kind that lives behind your eyes and settles into your chest and follows you into rooms where you're supposed to feel something, and you just don't. You sit in church and watch people lift their hands and wonder when you stop being able to do that without it feeling like an act. You open your Bible and close it again. Not because you've stopped believing what's in it, because you don't have anything left to bring to it. You are tired of trying. And the thing nobody talks about, the thing that makes this lonelier than it needs to be, is the guilt that comes with admitting that. Because you're not supposed to be exhausted by faith. Faith is supposed to be the thing that carries you. So what does it mean when the carrying itself becomes the weight? Here's what it actually looks like from the inside. You keep showing up. That part hasn't stopped. You pray, shorter prayers than before, but you pray. You serve, you give, you say the right things when someone asks how your faith is doing. From the outside, nothing looks broken. But inside, there's a slow dimming happening that you haven't told anyone about. The things that used to move, you don't land the same way anymore. A worship song that once made you cry now just fills the room. A verse that used to feel like oxygen now reads like words on a page. You remember when faith felt like a fire, and now it feels more like an obligation you're too loyal to abandon. And the worst part isn't the emptiness. It's the shame that comes with it. I should be further along than this. Other people go through harder things and come out stronger. What's wrong with me? If my faith were real, wouldn't it be sustaining me right now? So you push harder, pray longer, commit to reading more, doing more, being more, convinced that the solution to spiritual exhaustion is more spiritual effort. But you can't refill an empty cup by drinking from it faster. And deep down, you already know that. You're not running low because you haven't tried hard enough. Something else entirely is going on. What if the exhaustion isn't a spiritual problem? What if it's a structural one? There's a difference between a faith that's dying and a person who has been carrying too much alone for too long. And from the outside, even from the inside, they can feel identical. But they're not. A fire doesn't go out because it stopped wanting to burn. It goes out because nobody fed it. And somewhere along the way, you stopped receiving. You became so focused on the output, the serving, the striving, the holding it together, that the intake quietly dried up. Not all at once. Gradually. The way a river doesn't disappear overnight. It just gets a little shallower each season until one day you look down and wonder where the water went. That's not failure. That's physics. You cannot pour out indefinitely without something flowing back in. And here's what changes everything about how you read this season. Exhaustion, in this context, is not God's verdict on your faith. It's your body and soul telling you the truth about what's been happening, that you've been running a marathon at sprint pace, fueled by obligation and guilt and sheer willpower, instead of the thing that was actually supposed to be carrying you. The tiredness isn't the enemy. It's the most honest thing you've felt in months. Think about a musician who loves what they do. In the beginning, the music itself is the reason. They play because something in them needs to. It fills something. It costs something. It means something. But then comes the pressure. The performances, the practice schedules, the expectations of everyone listening. And slowly, almost invisibly, the relationship shifts from playing music to managing music, from loving it to maintaining it, until one day they sit down at the instrument they've dedicated their life to and feel nothing. Not because the love died, because they forgot what it felt like to simply listen. That's what religious exhaustion does. It replaces encounter with effort. It turns the thing that was supposed to feed you into one more thing you have to feed. Jesus knew this was coming for people like you. In Matthew 11, verse 28, he didn't say, "Come to me, all who have their spiritual disciplines in order." He said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Weary, burdened, not thriving, not consistent, not holding it together. Weary, that's the specific person he was talking to. And then there's Elijah again. But look at what happened after the victory, after the collapse, after he told God he had nothing left. God didn't hand him a plan. He didn't give him a task or a lesson or a word of correction. He let him sleep. He sent an angel to make him food. He said, "The journey is too great for you." Not, "You are too weak for the journey." The journey is too great. The load was genuinely too heavy. And the first response from heaven wasn't instruction. It was care. That's the God you're dealing with right now. Not a coach pushing you through the wall. Someone who sees that the wall was never yours to carry in the first place. So here's what's actually been happening. Somewhere along the way, you absorbed a version of faith that runs entirely on performance. Pray enough, serve enough, show up enough, feel enough. And if you're not feeling it, try harder until you do. It sounds like devotion, but what it actually produces over time is a relationship with God that functions less like love and more like a job you're afraid to lose. You don't rest because resting feels like falling behind. You don't slow down because slowing down feels like giving up. You don't admit the exhaustion out loud because somewhere you learned that faithful people don't get tired. They just trust more. But that's not faith. That's fear wearing faith's clothes. And here's the reframe that might be the most important thing you hear today. The most courageous spiritual act you can do right now is not to push through. It's to stop. Not stop believing. Not walk away. Stop performing. Stop striving. Stop treating your access to God like something you maintain through output. Because the invitation in Matthew 11 wasn't, "Come to me and I'll reload you so you can keep going at the same pace." It was rest. Actual rest. The kind that changes your pace permanently because it changes what you think you're running for. You were never meant to sustain yourself spiritually through effort. That was always his job. And every season of exhaustion, every single one, is ultimately an invitation back to that truth. Not a punishment, not a sign you've drifted too far, a doorway. Let me say something you may not have given yourself permission to believe yet. You're not failing God by being tired. Exhaustion is not a character flaw. It is not evidence of shallow faith or weak commitment or a heart that doesn't care enough. It is evidence that you are human and that you have been carrying something real for a long time without enough support. God is not standing at a distance, arms crossed, waiting for you to recover before he'll come close. He is already here, in the tiredness, in the hollow Sunday mornings, in the prayers that feel like they go nowhere, in the quiet moments when you wonder if any of this is still working. He is closer to you in this exhaustion than you have felt in a long time, because you have finally stopped performing long enough for him to actually reach you. You don't have to manufacture feeling. You don't have to show up with anything polished or prepared. The version of you that belongs in his presence isn't the strong version, the consistent version, the version that has its devotional life in order. It's this one, worn down, honest, still here. That is enough, not as a consolation, not as a temporary pass until you get back on your feet. As the actual truth of how grace works. It was never activated by your effort, and it is never suspended by your exhaustion. You are held right now, completely, without condition, and you don't have to do a single thing to earn that back. Before you go, I want to give you something different. Not a challenge, not a list of things to start doing, just a permission. Permission to stop pretending you're fine when you're not. Permission to bring the exhaustion itself to God instead of waiting until you've recovered enough to show up properly. Permission to let this be the season where you receive instead of perform. In the comments, write these 3 words. I can rest here. Not I'll try harder. Not I'll do better. I can rest here. Because that's what this moment is. Not a setback in your faith. Not a warning sign about where you're headed. A place to land. Elijah didn't get back up because he pushed through the exhaustion on his own. He got back up because something met him in it, fed him, let him sleep, told him the journey had been too much, and that was okay. That same something is here with you right now. You don't have to figure out how to feel spiritually alive again tonight. You just have to stop running from the quiet long enough to let yourself be found in it. If this reached you somewhere real today, share it with someone who's been smiling through a tiredness they haven't named yet. And to you, still here at the end, the fact that you're exhausted doesn't mean you've lost your faith. Sometimes it means you've been faithful for so long, through so much, that you simply need to be carried for a while. Let that happen. You're not behind. You are not failing. You are exactly where grace is.